Hi, everyone. First of all, I just want to thank everyone who submitted questions to the survey I sent out over the weekend. I really, really appreciate it. And it was just really a lot of fun seeing questions come in from all over the country. So what I wanted to do was take a few moments here to answer some of the questions. I picked 6 of them. And there were really so very many good ones. But these seem to really cover some themes that a lot of you touched on. Okay, so first question. What do you do when you know someone doesn't agree but isn't saying anything or won't say anything? When there is an absence of feedback but a clear desire for something to be said, it's usually because there's not been enough infrastructure or enough specifics. So, what I would do if I were you is send out a preliminary email before you're going to roll out a change or shortly after one has happened. In that email, I would say, thanks so much for your time. As you know, we have our meeting coming up on such and such a date. I would really love to hear from you about how I'm doing in these specific areas. Maybe say, how have I been doing clearly delegating as we've been going through this change? Or how do you feel that communication has been? Or how do you feel that this specific change is rolled out? Whatever it is, be specific. The problem might not be that they're not willing. It might be that they need some time to formulate what they want to say, or they're doing a good job of realizing I'm angry right now. Now is not the right time for me to try to say this. It's not going to come out right. So they might be policing themselves for a reason that you don't realize, and they're trying to make sure that they give you the feedback that they need to give you in a way that it's receivable, which is great. Second question I would ask you about this is, what's your body language doing when you are soliciting this feedback? Sometimes when you can tell that people are not giving you the feedback that they wish that they were giving you, it might be because you're snarling, or it might be because their perception is that you're snarling. So double check how your email sounds, or how your text sounds, or how your Slack message, or just your body language when you're in the room. So again, just making sure that you are in alignment, because the reason that you're behaving in that way, or that your tone is coming across this way, is because you're out of alignment. So when you're coming across in a way that says, tell me what I want to hear, or do this or you're going to get fired, that might not be your intention. But when you're coming across that way, it's because you're frustrated, or you've lost faith in them, or maybe you're feeling insecure and you're just like, please listen to me, or please just do this thing, or you're worried about something. So get into alignment, and that way your body language will reflect the caliber of your intention. Okay, next question. How do you lead those who don't report directly to you? So I thought this was a great question, because leaders are not always the manager or the owner of the company or the person that everybody reports to. If you are a leader at your company and you're trying to figure out how do you lead people and they're not your direct report, my point to you about this is that you're in a great position to be a coach or to be a servant leader. So if you're familiar with servant leadership, then you're familiar with this concept of authority versus power. Power is the ability to say, do this or you're going to be fired. Sometimes things have to resort to that, and it's unfortunate when that happens, because when you assert power like that, you're eroding that relationship. That's one of my favorite takeaways from the book The Servant by James C. Hunter, which I've posted on here about before. So if these people report to someone other than you, you are in a great position to build up authority. So authority is the ability to tap into the why alongside people and motivate them to do the things that you want them to do. Motivate them to do the things that are in service to this project or in service to the company or your clients, because you both share that vision. They want to. So really build up that authority. And how you do that is by tapping into the why and serving them. Really looking for ways. You don't have to be the big boss in order to serve people. And when you serve people and you let them know that you care and you want to eliminate barriers between them and performing at the caliber of their potential, you're really building up that trust. Even if someone doesn't report to you, you might not have the ability to say, you're going to get fired or this thing is going to happen. That almost makes it easier. That almost makes it a more healthy conversation when a human and a human can sit down and just talk. You still have the ability to say, hey, this is how I'm feeling in this relationship. This is what I'm seeing and where I'm struggling. This is just my perspective, and I wanted to come to you because I care about this relationship, and I know we both care about serving our clients. So I just wanted to hear from you about what you're perceiving and how I can make this relationship feel better for both of us. Okay, so number 3, how do you work with other leaders who don't have a collaborative leadership style? I love this question as well. First of all, your perception that the other leaders at your company aren't collaborative might be about the story you're telling yourself and not about a story of how it absolutely is, So, for example, you might be observing these behaviors that are a little bit off-putting. You might be observing these behaviors that feel like people shutting you out or stonewalling you on your efforts to build something. But maybe what feels to you like a no is just a direction that you need to try a different way or speak the language a little bit differently so they understand what you're trying to help them with or understand what you're trying to say. One thing that I love about improv is that the onus is on everyone to build something that you're proud of. Even if you're new, even if you're insecure, even if other people have been on the team longer than you, the onus is on everyone to build something that we're proud of. And so, in the midst of an improv show, which all of life is improv, so this applies directly to daily life, there's hustle and bustle and things are happening quickly and change is happening quickly. And it's easy to feel like, if you're having trouble getting out there and getting your ideas out there, it's easy to feel like you need someone to say, hey, what do you think? Come tell us, your perspective on this. And that invitation isn't always there. That's not always a reality of how it's going to be. I would love for it to be. And I always try to remind leaders to extend that invitation. But the reality is that sometimes it's just not there. But a lack of an invitation is not the same thing as a lack of openness. And I hope you will really hear me. I'm going to say it again. A lack of an invitation is not the same thing as a lack of openness. So your perspective might be more welcome than you realize. So if you are in a situation where it's not just that you're feeling unwelcome, there's actually been a situation of harassment or a situation where you have literally been told, no, thank you, we don't have room for your perspective. I mean, in that sense, what are you doing at this company? Really ask yourself that. What am I doing here? Why am I staying here? And I would love to hear from you, either if you're the person that submitted that question or if you're someone that just relates with it. Why do you stay alongside leaders that just don't collaborate well? You might be telling yourself, oh, I'm waiting. There's a season of change. We're just going through a rough patch, because I do hear this quite often from people. And my thing is, okay, there is always going to be another change like that. What these leaders are showing you is how they operate during change. This is the best they can do. Assume that. Assume that what's happening right now is how they handle change. This is how they communicate. This is how they delegate. This is how they confront. This is how they collaborate. This is how they are. They're showing you right now. So maybe there are moments that they have clarity and inspiration on how to do it better. I believe that the universe is whispering in everyone's ear. Not everyone is listening, but that doesn't mean they can't. But the thing is, ask yourself if this is enough for you. Do you like who you are while you're waiting for this change to happen? Do you like how you're talking to your significant other? Do you like how you're treating your kids? Do you like what you think about on your way to and from work? Do you like who you are while you're waiting for this change to happen so that you can get to when it's better? If not, you got to get out of there. You just got to get out of there. And if you're hoping that, maybe there really will be light at the end of the tunnel, I'm telling you, make a plan for how you will handle those conversations immediately when you get to that clearing. How will you know when you've gotten to the light at the end of the tunnel? And what will you do when you get there? Have a plan for those things, friend. Because otherwise, you are going to keep treading water and you're either going to drown or you're going to become one more person at this company that's participating in other people just being like, blech, who cares about this? Why do I come here? So think about that. Okay, now we're ready for the next question. How do you lead or manage those who have poor emotional intelligence? I love this question. I think it's a super honest question. And in gathering my thoughts on it ahead of time, I came across a Cornel West quote that I absolutely love. It goes like this. You can't lead the people if you don't love the people. You can't save the people if you can't serve the people. Now, if Cornel West and I could sit down and talk, I think I would have some questions about the word save, because I don't know if I am super on board with that, but I am super on board with the spirit of this quote, this idea of loving the people as a way of leading them. Love looks like choosing curiosity over judgment, right? Love looks like patience when we do things differently. Love looks like deciding to get to know someone as a whole person beyond those undesirable behaviors that indicated to you that this person has low emotional intelligence. So that's one thing. I think that it's really important as leaders to embrace the whole of who people are. And there are certainly ways that you can coach someone to behave in a way that serves your clients better and serves your purposes better. There's just a need to learn what is the lingua franca here. If they're communicating so differently or behaving so differently, where is the common ground that we can get on board with so that they can receive the feedback, so that they can receive the coaching? And I really encourage you, if you're in a situation where you're like, we are just not operating out of the same playbook, I really encourage you not to fall prey to the temptation of talking over people to prove that you're smarter, or talking over people to prove that you've read a lot of books about this. Speak to them in a way that they can understand you, okay? Second question I would have about this is there a chance that what you are experiencing is somebody whose brain is running on a different operating system? So if you follow me on social media, you know that I've been writing a little bit more lately and talking a little bit more lately about neurodiversity. And I've posted a couple of articles here on LinkedIn about this very topic, and I'll link to those in the comments on this video. Okay, next question. How do you shape and motivate team members you inherit from previous leadership? So thank you so much. The person who submitted this is a leader at a huge company in Orlando, and I won't say his name because I didn't ask for permission to do that. I didn't think of that on the survey, and it seems uncool to do that, so I won't. But I really appreciate this question a whole lot. So here's the thing. Motivation comes from being tapped into the why, being collectively tapped into the why. And so if what you're noticing is a lack of motivation, what's happening is that either they or you are not tapped into the why. So what might have happened is that they are grieving that this other leader isn't here anymore, or they're really uncertain about what this change means. Or maybe what's happening is that they're ready, they're excited, you have no idea. Maybe the outgoing leader is someone that they are taking a breath and they're like, the start of something new, yay. And they're watching you to be like, what are you going to do to help solve these problems that we've been struggling with, right? So maybe that's where they're at, and the energy that you're perceiving isn't about what you think it's about. Maybe what's happening is that you are tapped into an energy of proving, and you really want to prove that you can do it. You want to prove that you can be, whatever to them. And so you're tapped into proving instead of being tapped into the why. So what I would encourage you to do, if you inherit a team of people from someone else and you're struggling with motivation, tap back into the why. Figure out what this is pointing to. In improv, we believe everything is a gift. Everything that happens in the scene, even if it's not a gift you would have chosen, it is pointing you in the direction of where building can happen. It is pointing at a conversation, uncomfortable as that conversation may be, that will help you get where you need to be with your scene partner, okay? If we're talking about shaping, that word shaping to me is about coaching, effective coaching. And, really effective coaching is about finding out what people care about and removing the obstacles to help them perform at the caliber of their potential. So servant leadership, you're hearing me talk a lot about that. There's a ton of overlap between the work that I do and the spirit of servant leadership. I've been finding that more and more the longer I do this, and I really love that. So when we're talking about coaching, really what we need to do if you want to effectively coach is establish authority instead of power. So I urge you, in any opportunity you can, to build authority instead of doubling down on power, which is do this so you don't get fired. That's what's going to help you get to a place where people can really receive the feedback that you're giving them. Also, there may be some reckoning that needs to happen in the form of direct confrontation. And so what I'm going to do, because confrontation, by the way, I didn't choose any of the questions that were specifically about that because it felt a little on the nose based on the quantity of videos that I've put out about difficult feedback and confrontation. But if you're new to my work, please go through my articles. I have a ton of articles about giving difficult feedback, but I will go ahead and link to a download I have that's called Best Practices for Offering Difficult Feedback. And I think that what might need to happen is just a direct confrontation. What's going on here? Get curious instead of judgmental. That is the number one advice of mindful improv. Choose curiosity instead of judgment wherever you can. But sometimes just clearing the air, making time and space to get real with someone one-on-one and just be like, what's going on here? I believe it can get better and I want it to. Tell me your perspective on what's happening here. And then listen. That's the important thing. Say your piece and then listen. Okay, last question is from a woman who says she's just getting started. It seemed like with a project from some of her other survey responses. And she's struggling with second-guessing herself. This is about alignment. So this alignment is having equal parts, equal faith in yourself, your scene partners, and the agile collaborative process. So this process of listening, building, listening, building, listening, building. That's what improv is. That is what improv is. You don't bring everything. You don't need to know 11 steps down the road what's going to happen. We call that building a cathedral or bringing a cathedral. When you have this whole finished thing and you just set it on top of everyone else and you're like, boom, deal with that. That's not what we're about in improv. You bring one brick and then you listen and your scene partners bring something and you build whatever it's going to be together. Second guessing yourself is usually pointing at an opportunity for forgiveness. So do you need to forgive yourself for failing in the past? Do you need to forgive yourself for getting it wrong and not handling a situation in a way that really represents who you are and your values of being an empathetic leader? What is it about? The first step is ask yourself, why am I second guessing myself? Your job is not to figure out how to handle everything perfectly. Your job is to plan, how can I stay in alignment consistently? Because when you are in alignment, you will have the words that you need. You will have the words that you need when you're in alignment and you're not worried about proving stuff to people. You're just worried about really doing what you're on this planet to do, really solving problems and serving the people around you, and living in your ikigai, if you remember that from several videos ago. Lastly, there's a really interesting question about selling mindfulness to other people at a company. And I thought this was interesting. There might be a fundamental misunderstanding of what mindfulness is. So mindfulness does not have to be something that happens alongside gongs and chanting and in a salt cave and some of the things that get associated with mindfulness or meditation. By the way, I love me a good salt cave. But mindfulness is just simply being present in this moment with curiosity instead of judgment. That's what mindfulness is, being aware of what's happening in this moment and being fully present. So as leaders, that is so critical. It is so critical to be able to be present and really hearing, because right now in this moment is your opportunity to connect with your client, to connect with your investor, to connect with your partner, to connect with your employee, and really hear what they're saying. Really good ideas, really transformative, critical moments that are, company defining can happen just like that, and you'll miss it if you have not practiced the ability of being present and listening. By the way, not being present in the moment is a really good way to actively disengage the people around you, okay? So mindfulness is just the ability to be present in this moment, and there are different mindfulness practices. There are different exercises that will help you build that skill, and some of them include meditation, some of them include mantras, some of them include salt caves. But that is not what they have to be. And there are some mindfulness activities that are much more approachable than you may realize. So if you're struggling to get people on board, so to speak, with mindfulness, my thought might be that the issue is more about the wrapping paper than about the gift. So maybe think about, addressing the needs of your team, because they desperately need mindful leaders. Your team desperately needs mindful leaders, whether or not they know how to ask for that, okay? So maybe just presenting it in a way that will be in alignment with the language that they're speaking, okay? All right, well, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you all for your efforts of being empathetic leaders. It is just a joy to connect with leaders who care so deeply about their teams and who care so deeply about making the world a better place by building companies that are better places, okay? Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.